Hey, AJ here. Today, I am gonna make another mistake. I'm gonna make some amazing pumpkin donuts because it's fall and I was a basic and I want some pumpkin donuts is really the reason. Now, I'm breaking one of my own rules, which is to never make a recipe I haven't made before. Now, I have made this recipe before, but it's been like over a year. So, you may never see this, but if you're watching it now, that means it came out amazing. So get amped, because as I remember, these pumpkin scones are cinnamony, they're fluffy, you can make them even if you don't have a deep fryer, so there's not as much oil in them, but most importantly, they're delicious and easy to make. Let's get into it. First things first, you're gonna need 2 bowls. This is a relatively simple recipe. The one thing you're gonna need that's a little tricky is these donut pans. Now you can get these on Amazon, you can get them at Target at this point. They're not too challenging to find. So I have a couple of them and I have a donut hole one in case I have a couple extras. So maybe there's gonna be donut holes, but there's definitely gonna be donuts. That's gonna be kind of the one tricky thing you need to get before everything. And as always, we're gonna make this plant-based, we're gonna make it gluten-free. Because, you know, some people don't be eating gluten like me. Some people don't be eating meat like me. So if you're anything like me, or maybe you want to be, which is weird, then you're going to be able to eat these donuts and enjoy them. First things first, 2 bowls. Bowl 1, bowl 2. All right, second thing, preheat your oven. 350, and whatever in Celsius, I'll add it. And then next is, if you're making it plant-based, you got to prepare some flax eggs. So if you've watched these videos before, welcome back. Then you know we got to be making flax eggs all the time. So flax eggs, if you're not sure, it's 1 tablespoon of flax meal, 3 tablespoons of water. It's as simple as it sounds. They do need some time to get gloopy like an egg. So that's the main deal. So we're gonna make 2 flax eggs, which means 2 tablespoons of flax meal, 6 tablespoons of water, and then we're gonna let it sit by the side while we mix together the dry ingredients. So that's first, make your flax egg. All right, so I'm gonna push this to the side while we wait for it to get gloopy. Next is our dry ingredients. So first things first, some all-purpose flour, or if you're me, 1-to-1 baking flour that's gluten-free. If you need or want to make some gluten-free stuff, you can get this stuff like on Amazon. So it's a pretty handy tool, and most things are 1-to-1 when you use it. Okay, so we're gonna put a cup, and here's my cup, which is broken, which is always a good sign that you're watching a really, really good cooking video, is that there's a broken cup. All right, so you got 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and then we're gonna do 3/4 of a cup. So there's the first dry ingredient. Let me get this flour out of here. Next, you got the sodas and the powders, baking varieties. So you're gonna need a teaspoon of each of them. You're gonna throw them in there. Also, if you have a sifter, which actually looks like this, it probably would be a good call to sift your flour. Next is gonna be a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That looks like about half. All right, next is you're gonna do 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, but it's actually gonna be more than that because the next ingredient is pumpkin pie spice, which is just more cinnamon, but also includes nutmeg and ginger. So I don't have that pre-mixed, so we're just gonna do a little bit more cinnamon and also add nutmeg and ginger. So we're gonna let's do around 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. You got maybe 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. Man, this smells awesome, by the way. Can you smell it? Are you making it with me? Because if you were making it with me, we could be experiencing these amazing smells together. And I think that'd be really great for the world. Powdered ginger, and we'll do maybe like 1/2 teaspoon of this stuff because it can be overpowering. So we're gonna give that a stir real quick, and then we're gonna move on to our wet ingredients. Dry ingredients, there we go, second bowl. Okay, first things first, let's get some coconut oil. So you need 1/2 cup of a vegetable oil. I have coconut, so that's what I'm gonna use. And coconut oil at room temperature usually is solid, so I'm gonna have to melt it. You can melt it in the microwave for like 30 seconds. So let me do that real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have our melted coconut oil. Make sure it doesn't get too hot if you're melting it by yourself too. This is especially important if you end up actually using the eggs instead of flax eggs, because you can accidentally scramble your eggs. Just a little note for those of you who still eat eggs or things like that. Okay, so we got half a cup of coconut oil in here. We're going to want 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Now this could be light brown or dark brown. So I got the just brown. Next, you're going to want to add your flax eggs. So they should be nice and gloopy by now. So gloopy. Puree. I guess this could be fresh too, is what the recipe is teaching me. But one thing I've learned is that when you're making like pumpkin baked treats, the canned stuff, for whatever reason, maybe it's the type of squash they use, tends to taste better. So for whatever that's worth, you follow your bliss. You do you, but this might be a good idea. 1 cup of pumpkin puree. Okay, you want a teaspoon of vanilla extract. That looked like a teaspoon to me. So almond kind of goes with pumpkin anyway, right? They're both kind of heartier flavors. So let me throw in 1/3 of a cup. Now we're gonna stir this up. I got just a rubber spatula. They're wet, you know, you shouldn't need to beat the crap out of it. But if you have a stand mixer or, you know, a hand mixer or something like that, feel free to use that. I don't want to bust mine out for this because, I don't know, I kind of just like the feeling of like getting my foot in it, you know? Getting really, you know the expression, right? You know, just really get up in here. Okay, all right, so this is looking like a beautiful pumpkin-y, sugary porridge. So if you've lost patience at this point, feel free to just drink this. Or if you want the donuts, grab your dry ingredients and we're just going to mix them in. Nice and breezy. Now, the original recipe calls for not overworking this, because when you're making things with normal flour, if you overwork it, you can develop a lot of gluten, which depending on the food, you may or may not want this. This is gluten-free flour, so you're not super gonna run that risk. I mean, it might become a little too gummy if you overmix it, and generally follow the rules, but there's less of a risk that there is with normal flour. So something to keep in mind if you're making this with normal all-purpose flour. So I'm just gonna stir this until it looks like a donut, and then that's it. That's how you do it. You don't even have to throw it in the oven. Okay, so we have this dough done. Look at that. Looks beautiful. Looks glorious. Looks magnificent. Looks pumpkin-y. Looks spicy. Looks, insert adjective. And now we're gonna put it in our donut pan. And this is it. I mean, we got to make some icing for it, but that's it. We did this in like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, not even. You can have donuts in 10 minutes. So let me grab the donut pans. All right, now if you have a piping bag, definitely use that. Just be super careful when you're going through this, because this is kind of a thick dough with 1C. So it can kind of, you don't want it to come out lumpy. Another thing, and you'll see, is, you know, you can kind of even it out because it's not completely, you know, thick. So, all right, let me start adding this into the donut pan, and then you're gonna throw it into the oven for 10 minutes. And then while it's in the oven, we're gonna make some brown sugar icing with walnuts. Holy shit, that's gonna be so good. You can't wait to watch that part? You could just fast forward. This is the internet. Streaming. We're here. Okay, so I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so I finally got these in. I didn't have enough for the donut holes, but that's okay. We've got enough for about a dozen donuts, which should be great. So I'm gonna throw these in the oven, and in 10 minutes, these should be done. While they're in there, we're gonna go ahead and make our brown sugar icing for the donuts, which I think is gonna be pretty awesome. Also, one of these donut pans was not sprayed. So let's see if that makes a difference. Are you excited? Me too. All right, let's throw it in. Okay, so let's start with our confectioner's sugar. We're gonna want about, looks like, 1.5 cups of this. So that might be all of my confectioner's sugar. I hope I have enough. Okay, so we have just barely enough of this icing, so we're gonna have to really be careful when we're mixing the milk in. So next we're gonna add some brown sugar. This is around 3/4 of a cup. We're gonna do a tablespoon of vegan butter. I like this Miyoko brand, so we're gonna throw a little bit of that in there. Okay, so we have 1/4 of a cup of milk. the sugar in there, and I'm going to start stirring this and see if this starts forming into the type of icing we're looking for. It looks like Sally here likes to put her icing on the stove to melt, which is an interesting strategy. I guess it makes sense with the brown sugar, but let's see if we can just get it to form without doing all that. How does that feel? Does that feel good to you in your bones? I mean, this is looking pretty epic as is, so I think we're going to be okay. Looks pretty good. I get a little bit why Sally would have melted it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tablespoon of vegan butter, melt it, throw it in here, and hope that that helps dissolve some of the brown sugar. So we'll see. Yeah, so let me get to doing that. Looks like our donuts are about ready to be popped out, so then I will see you when it's time to actually ice these bad boys if it all came out, okay? See you soon. All right, so we are done with these donuts. Shocking, I know. So yeah, that icing actually worked. I did actually throw it on a double boiler to melt it. I would advise melting it because otherwise it kind of chunks up. Now it still looks good, but it could look great. So yeah, all I did was when it was still warm, I dipped it, the icing, pulled it out, and then I dipped it into some crushed walnuts. Some of them I didn't because I know some people aren't that into walnuts. And now I'm going to have my beautiful fairy wife come and see if this is good. If this is, you know, hot or not. Did this do it? Am I feeling
some type of way?
Some type of way. All right, so these are some brown sugar pumpkin donuts.
Wow.
Baked.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, they're cute.
They're cute.
Mm-hmm. They look good. They remind me of one of our favorite donut places. Back smell really good.
Do you want this one or this one? Or this one?
With everything. Give me
You want
the everything.
You want the everything. Okay,
Yeah.
Here you go. They're probably still warm.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Wow, in a good way?
Yeah.
Okay, yes! Would you believe me if I told you they were vegan and gluten-free?
Yes. I mean, all the things you said. I taste pumpkin. I taste brown sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
I get the crunch of the walnut.
Do you like it better with the walnut?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
But I also am like an old lady, and I think I would like the plain ones the best of everything.
Well, you want to try a plain one?
Yeah.
Here you go. Now it's just pumpkin bread.
Mm-hmm.
That's their favorite one?
Yes.
Of course. You're like, it doesn't taste enough like a vegetable. This tastes too much like this tastes too good. 1 out of 10 fairies, how many would
I mean, 9.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's pretty
it's
good.
Really good.
And
The
you don't.
flavor is really good.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You heard it here. Great. Amazing. So there you go. A 9 out of 10. So barely an A minus from this Eep. And yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, maybe hit like, maybe subscribe, maybe tag me on Instagram at HeyAJRivera. Or if you make these, you can also tag me at HeyAJRivera. If you're looking for a pumpkin donut recipe, definitely give this one a go. And thanks to my beautiful fairy wife who's hiding off camera for trying this out. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Is it good?
Yeah.
Oh, it is good.
Yeah.
Holy shit.